I almost said the name of the other podcast. That would have been embarrassing. That would have been like calling your girlfriend a different name, I would assume.
Not as bad.
But also, I guess I just called you my girlfriend in this scenario. So,
Wow.
Are
Sorry.
you offended? You're
wrong,
sorry.
Wrong sibling.
No, that's all right. This is the Greater Mythos podcast, is what we are. Very unorganized podcast. We talk about movies. We talk about video games. We talk about a lot of things.
We do.
Of varying topics. And I think I'm confident in saying that we're going to kick off with a doozy. The Snyder Cut of Justice League.
Yeah.
We've talked about it in whispers in past episodes, mainly because for the past couple of years, should anyone not know, there was a possibility of this happening, as in Zack Snyder getting a second life, if you will, and being able to revisit the Justice League project that so infamously happened. And a lot of people just thought it was rumors and all that, but it's happening. HBO Max exclusive. I think we talked about that. 4 episodes of like hour length. Some of those main points, a lot of reshoots, extra scenes being added. One of the big things there, you just watched the trailer that was put out a few days ago. Allow me to kick off with this. If you didn't know this, Jared Leto is coming back as the Joker for it.
I think you did tell me that one already.
Oh my gosh.
I'm curious about that. So not everyone liked his Joker.
Correct.
But some people did. So it's a pretty polarizing choice.
Where did you land on it? Because I forget as far as if you liked him or not.
It was just kind of weird, like that entire movie he was in. Like all of Suicide Squad was just odd. You know, it's not like I didn't like the movie. I definitely understand it has its flaws and everything. I certainly didn't hate the movie like some people did. I don't know. I don't have a problem with Jared Leto's acting. I think the way they made Joker look was just kind of too gross.
Okay, too gross. Interesting.
I'm not big on like the teeth and
the grills, if you will.
I'm not big on that. But other than that, no, I don't really see. And now, of course, the Snyder Cut's adding a ton of stuff, like double the length of the movie and cutting some things. But I don't see how the Joker gets in. But I guess they're gonna do more intro stuff to some of the characters.
Yeah, so Zack Snyder did an interview with a YouTuber that I watch, and I can send you the link to it, but he was saying how more or less that he's not going to be a big role. He's going to be in it. He's going to have a little different of a look physically. So I'm not. They're probably not going to totally get rid of those things that maybe you would attribute to gross, but a little different look. I saw someone speculate in the comments that maybe he's going to show up in that nightmare sequence of Batman in the desert, and like he's like teaming up with him to take down Superman or something. But that was just a speculation. Who knows? Maybe he'll just blow up a building and leave.
I don't have a problem with Jared Leto's Joker. I think we, as viewers, and this is collective we, as everyone who watches these movies, we're kind of spoiled by Heath Ledger.
Yes.
You can't really top that. And in terms of voice acting, you can't really top Mark Hamill. And whenever there's a change, like in one of the Batman games, they did a different voice cast for everyone, so Joker was different.
Troy Baker was one of
them. It's not that he was bad, he just wasn't Mark Hamill. And that causes problems in the fan base where they get upset because they wanted the original. And there's a multitude of reasons. It's usually not, well, we took Hamill out because we didn't like him. It's usually contractual stuff. And now that Heath Ledger's gone, someone has to fill the role. And I liked Joker in Joker. I liked that acting.
Yes.
A lot of people also didn't. I feel like people are going to have problems with it regardless, because like I said, it's not, they're spoiled. We're spoiled with what we got in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yes. Well, that and everyone just has their dirty, rotten opinions. Another thing, and I'm pretty sure that he's coming back as well, but Joe Manganiello, I can't remember how you say it, who is Deathstroke, who showed up for 30 seconds at the end there with bald Jesse Eisenberg. They put up a little teaser photo of his new look. So he'll be back in some way, shape, or form as well. So that's exciting. Holy cow. I feel like we need to have like a day of, it's not going to be a day because I think they're going to release these weekly once it comes out. Maybe we'll go out of our way to experience it together. Unless if you don't want to, then I'll mind my own business.
Sounds good. I'm excited about it.
You make the popcorn, I'll show up. I don't know. Something. Some sort of arrangement. I'm sure we can figure that out. Along those lines, I have my little list here. HBO Max. Have you heard about it?
It's going to be on HBO Max?
It's going to be on HBO Max.
So, but that wasn't this. I think it was just regular HBO that Game of Thrones was on, right? I think.
Correct.
So I don't think I've ever had HBO Max. Why do they have... Here's a tangent. Why do they have to have separate ones?
Because they want your money.
I understand that. But just include it all on HBO. It's enough money to get HBO alone. Trust me.
No, it's not. It's not enough money. There's never enough money.
Or they could just release it all 4 parts. I assume they will on Blu-ray at some point.
I'm gonna buy it probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a relic of the original cut of Justice League, so I'm good either way. But I was gonna say HBO Max. I'm not sure if you saw this. Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one.
It's coming out on HBO Max and theaters on Christmas Day.
I don't like that.
Which part?
The coming out on Christmas.
Oh, interesting.
I do like that something's finally coming out, but theaters by where we live is closing down again. So
that's not the thing, though. HBO Max is coming out on the streaming service.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's coming out on HBO Max and the theaters on Christmas Day. So this goes back into our past conversations on movie theaters closing. Are studios going to take a risk going to streaming services and maybe losing money, but also getting money? The whole thing. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be on HBO Max Christmas Day.
Okay, so that's a little better. If it was just theaters, then no, because then some people are going to skip family gatherings to go watch that movie in theaters. But if it's just on HBO Max, then sure. And I like how they're putting it all on the same thing. You just buy one thing and you get all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm for sure going to use my free week trial on Christmas Day, so we'll get that out of the way, and then we'll revisit when the Snyder cut is sent out into the wild. And
because I don't even know. I think everything's going to happen for us normally on Christmas Day for our family. Right. I know COVID has put a wrench, and I think everyone we know is healthy, so I don't think that's really a problem. Yeah, knock on wood. Yeah, I don't think it's a problem. I mean, we don't really live in a high risk area anyway, so I think it's all good. But yeah, I mean, you'll have to find some time to watch it on Christmas Day, if not the day after.
Oh, within that first 48, 72 hours, I'd say. Don't want to get hit with all the big spoilers, Don't want to. I'll tell you what. As we pivot, and then I'll let you talk. I've been yapping too much. As far as spoilers are concerned, Mandalorian, season 2, it's been happening. Tomorrow's episode.
I'm excited.
We're supposed to be getting Ahsoka.
Yes, we are supposed to be getting Ahsoka. Well, I'm excited. I think I know who the actress is. She was playing in all the Marvel shows, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't remember her name.
I don't know her name. I know she was Claire in those shows. I don't know what.
Correct.
I like the idea. I know it's supposed to be an older Ahsoka, so it makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
I think she can pull it off. I also am wondering when we're finally going to see another Boba, because we saw a flash of him in episode 2.
Yeah.
So that was exciting, but then they didn't touch on it in the next episode. So I'm wondering.
Spoilers for season 2 of Mandalorian, if too late.
If you've seen any episode of this podcast, you should have already known ahead of time.
You're on board, homie.
This is definitely not a no spoilers podcast.
You got me.
Hey, there's something for both types of people. All right.
It's true.
No, I'm really loving Mandalorian, and I really loved the first season. And I don't think this is a hot take, but it might be a hot take, so I'm going to go ahead and put it out there.
I'm ready for it either way.
Better quality writing and design than anything that we have seen from Star Wars main movies, like the last trilogy. Beside, like, I know the art and the sound are top tier in those movies, but in terms of like the writing and acting, this is top notch stuff.
Yeah.
And a TV show, like a sub part of Disney is doing this, and it's so good. Yes. And I hope that they take this into consideration when they make further Star Wars stuff.
Yes. So a few notes on The Mandalorian. Again, spoilers, I suppose. Number one, does it bother you that most episodes are under 45 minutes long? Number two, did you care at all about Bo-Katan in the last episode? Number three, will Ahsoka look stupid?
Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you watch the Clone Wars?
I did. It's been so long ago. The name I'm not remembering.
She was a part of the Mandalorian regime. Race.
Oh, so you're talking about the one who wants to be Mandalore.
Yes.
In the third,
the one who was in the last episode that we saw last week.
Yeah,
she was. Yeah, that girl. It's the voice actor from Clone Wars reprising her role in.
I like what she's doing. She was in Battlestar Galactica.
I knew you would know that. I haven't seen a single episode.
Yeah, so she was in that. She was really good there too. Good show. She just fits in sci-fi now. I guess that's just her thing now. I liked her in Clone Wars. I do remember those episodes now. Just the name, Mandalorian names. But yeah, I mean, they're taking her story arc into a way where they want to have a new Mandalore. That kind of begs the question. They kind of mentioned that there weren't a lot of Mandalorians left, but maybe they were just talking about that one creed that he's from. Because she talked about them being... So maybe there are more out there. And if
they more or less made him to be a religious fanatic.
Yes.
Of days of old.
Yes, because Mandalorians weren't always about that. Sometimes they would take their helmet off. It's unclear. Because in the Old Republic storyline, they were more of that religious creed where they didn't take their helmet off unless they were exiled. If you play the Old Republic games, you see a lot of Mandalorians in those games.
Right.
No, I'm excited.
I played them briefly.
Yeah, I understand why a lot of people don't play them. They're very dated, and their controls are wonky, and they're buggy, and they're hard to get running on current systems, whether computer or console.
Right.
But I recommend, at least for everyone, watching a playthrough of them. And speaking of which, I have a playthrough I want you to watch.
Oh boy.
It's just he's kind of he's not the best gamer, and he's kind of a variety streamer and anything, but his playthroughs of it are just hilarious because he's like forcing the Sith route in these games, and so a lot of decisions he makes have pretty big consequences and story wise.
Goodness.
It's
They're
just
entertaining
funny.
Then.
No, I like it. I like all of what they've been doing in Mandalorian. I like how they kind of sneaked in Mon Calamari in there, and they're on the ocean planet.
Yeah, they sure did.
They got him on a boat. Star Wars, but we're on a boat.
Correct.
That's cool.
So just because, again, I am so curious because I think the expectation, again, with tomorrow's episode with Ahsoka is, okay, this is this fan favorite character, live action appearance, great actress. They're hoping to more or less break the internet with this reveal. How do you see this playing out? Like, is she going to have like an action sequence? Are we going to see some lightsaber stuff going on? Is it going to be a 30-minute episode as she shows up at the end like Boba? What's going to happen?
Yeah. I can see the latter happening. I can also see the lightsaber thing happening.
Right.
Though, I mean, I don't know. We don't really have any context for what's going to happen in the episode. We just know he's heading there. We don't know if there's any adversary chasing him. We know the Empire wants the kid, but we don't know anything else. They didn't like flash like Imperial fleets like zooming into the planet too or anything. So
what if that ice monster came back to get him in space?
Yeah,
the big ice spider monster that I didn't like whatsoever.
So yeah, that was a weird scene. The frog people. Is that the first time?
I think frog people.
That's the first time we've ever seen that race, actually.
Yeah. Did you know, this might be hot water, so we won't stay on it for long. Did you see that people were like getting upset about the child eating those eggs?
Really?
Did you see any of that? Because like
No.
the mom made the comment about how like these are the only eggs she had left of their kind, and like he ate like two of them. They're like, oh, like he's doing the genocide or something. We can move on. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
No.
These are weird times. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely, I was a little off when I saw it. I didn't think I like personally was like that felt wrong, but I don't know if I get angry or anything. People just want to get angry at anything right now.
I love to get angry.
I don't.
I'm generally a peaceful person.
I would like if everything just went well, which
that's a quote. That's a T-shirt.
I'm sure it's already on
to just go well.
Yes, I'm sure it's already on a T-shirt somewhere.
I love it.
So I hope that with Mandalorian doing this, rumors that there might be a Old Republic Star Wars thing, or rumors that they might be remakes of the new trilogy. We've seen a lot of rumors. What would you rather see? Remakes of the new trilogy or an Old Republic brand new content?
Are you talking about games?
No, movies.
Movies? That's tough, man. Because I'm not sure if we've talked about this on air before, but there's been a lot of in the past fan art of everyone's favorite uncle Keanu Reeves in Old Republic settings
as Revan.
as Darth Revan. And that idea, even though I don't know like everything about the character and that time period of Star Wars, that gets me jazzed. So if they pulled through with that, regardless if it was a movie or television or Disney Plus series, I think that'd be dope. But also there's the talk of potential Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Bo-Katan spinoffs on Disney Plus as well. There's been thoughts of like that's kind of why they're bringing them on for appearances to kind of test to see if it takes. Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely not opposed to any more Star Wars content in this format, which is Mandalorian, the Mandalorian format, if that makes sense. I give it all to Favreau, though.
Yeah, I do hope we get more big movies too, as well as TV shows, and I hope that they took notice of what worked and what didn't. No,
did they? Okay, all right.
I have
give it a few years. That's
I have no
saying.
faith. I think the biggest problem is actually that there's a subset of the Star Wars community of new fans that liked the new content, and they're they're dying on that hill. And I think that Disney sees, well, there's still some money in it if we do it this way, and we appease the people working for us. You just tick off the hardcore fan base, which.
Yeah.
They didn't make as much money as they could have on that trilogy. So maybe you can count on Disney's greed to catch up and say, no, we have to make it what they want. I don't know. Capitalism.
Yeah, I love capitalism. This might be a silly question at the risk of rabbit trailing it. So we're talking about future content in the Star Wars universe, cinematic or, TV show or whatever. Let's go with movies specifically. Where do you go from here? Do you go after the newest trilogy timeline wise? Do you go way in the past, Old Republic? I mean, do you even go out of your way to specify? What would you think the best approach would be? Hence damage control or anything like that.
Yeah.
If there's even a right way.
I think you go to the Old Republic first. Because it's new, even though it's old. It's right. It's fresh. It's something that we haven't seen since the games and the MMO.
On the big screen.
Right. It hasn't been outside of a game or a book ever. So finally seeing it on screen, especially in a movie format, will appease a lot of people. Now, there's risks associated with doing this because people have expectations.
Yeah, they do. I do.
Now, there's a lot to pull from. I don't want them to do I would rather see a Revan take than I would like what the MMO's doing, because the MMO is going down like past like after Revan and like 100 like maybe 100 200 years after his death, still Old Republic, and so they could tell their own stories. They weren't bound by anything. Right. And I guess you could do that with the movies, but seeing Revan on screen would be so cool. And
are you dying on the hill that I am with Keanu?
It fits. And okay. I've played all the games and the MMO extensively. And the Revan content we have is some books, the first KOTOR game, Knights of the Old Republic, and then like one expansion within the MMO, which is not, it's not even considered canon in the expanded universe. So
Right.
that's all we really have on him, and yet it still works.
Mm.
Keanu Reeves can play this kind of anti-hero, light and dark character, and that's exactly what Revan is. He's not super light side Jedi. He's not this evil Sith Lord. He's in the middle, and he uses the Force, but he makes his own mind on things. And he's technically restarted the Sith Order too, so they could have a lot of fun with that. They could even use Revan as the bad guy in their movies if they wanted to.
Yeah, and that's what you do. You do the trilogy. You start off episode 1 with Revan, whatever his journey, and by the end of the third movie, he's the one that turns to the dark side, and the perspective shifts to the where's
no,
brother Chris?
Yeah. Well, I hope he sees this, because he'll have a lot of ideas too. I'm pretty sure he's played the KOTOR games, because I'm pretty sure he's played them, and no, it definitely fits. The one thing about the game that could cause problems for the movies is, and that's where everyone was first introduced to Revan, is that he is exactly what you want him to be in the game. You can either make him a Sith, a Jedi, or somewhere in the middle. So everyone has a different view of Revan. Like my personal playthrough of Revan was he was the super goody two shoes, and but the Revan before the mind wipe and the Jedi erasing his Force powers, before that, he was this guy who he followed his justice and ignored the council and went to fight against the Mandalorians regardless. And that's why he started the Sith. And then they ended up turning on him, of course. But
yeah, I was going to say, isn't it universally decided that regardless of the decisions you make, that in the lore, he is a Sith by the end of it?
I don't know about by the end of the games. I know that before it, he does become a Sith. So. The way he's raised as a Jedi, he's trained, and he's very powerful, considered one of the most powerful Jedi of all time, and like on the par of like Vader and stuff. And he eventually leaves because the Mandalorians declare war on the Republic, and the Council decides, no, we're going to stay out of it. This is before, modern time Star Wars, where the Jedi always assisted the Republic. They actually just decided to stay out of it. And Revan and a small, like I guess a third of the Jedi decided, well, we don't like that. People are dying. We're going to go save them. And so they did, thinking they were following the light. And after the battle, Revan decided to start the Sith Order, but they had fallen as a result. They had become Sith. Because Revan was out there seeking relics of power, and he and his apprentice fell to the dark side. And this is all preemptively to the games. There's no game spoilers here. And eventually his apprentice betrays him, like in traditional Sith fashion. It was like one of the first times it happened. Betrayed him, and they thought it killed him. So everyone in the lore thinks Revan's dead, but really we know he was just mind wiped and became a good guy again, or whatever you want to do as a player. But the movies could be before that, before the game. Where they start him as a Jedi and show his adventures as a Jedi and show him becoming a Sith and the Mandalorian Wars and all that stuff. There's so much content there they could do. And back to your earlier, it would be awesome.
Yeah, go ahead.
Back to your earlier question, how I would do the timeline of it is I would then, after those movies are done, do a remake trilogy, remake 7, 8, and 9.
All right.
No, I'm not. But hear me out. I'm not saying you erase them. I'm saying you make new ones. 7, 8, and 9, the way the fans wanted, and now you have 2 canons, and you let people figure out which one they like best. Because at this point, the people who just got on the bandwagon to watch 7, 8, and 9, you're gonna lose them in the Revan trilogy. They're not gonna come back for Star Wars. They're not the hardcore fans. You need to get them back because they're the ones who will stay loyal. They're not just gonna jump to whatever is new and not going to jump to the next fortnight of movies, right?
Oof.
Those are the people defending these movies. It's the people who didn't see the old ones because they didn't like them,
Right.
They watched these current Star Wars movies because they were like Marvel movies. That's why they watched them. The same kind of humor, same Disney type. But they've been appeased. So let them have their trilogy and let's make a new one, remake it. There's already been rumors of it, so they could totally do it. It's not like it would be that difficult. You could even get the same cast back. I don't know how many of them would say yes after the way they were torn apart last time.
Yeah, probably not many of them.
But you don't even have to do, like, I know Leia's out. I know Han. I don't know if Harrison Ford would come back.
I don't think he would.
But even if you don't do a remake, you could totally do a different story in the same timeline to branch off of, because the way 7, 8, and 9 ended, there's nothing to go on.
Right.
What do you do from there?
I asked that question.
Because Rey is still alive, right? Kylo.
Yeah, Rey Skywalker.
Ugh. Yeah, using our made-up names now. So making her a Palpatine is cool and dumb at the same time. I think we've established, a lot of people have already agreed with that.
Yes.
Man, all this does is make me think of the potential. We won't go down the rant of that trilogy.
I think we've exhausted our Star Wars talks for the day.
Never can exhaust your Star Wars talks.
Oh boy.
TLDR, Old Republic first while you figure out what to do next, because that, I don't think anyone dislikes that, right? I've never heard anyone who doesn't like the Old Republic stuff. They just don't.
I agree, I guess. I haven't had many discussions about it.
You don't have any opinions on it, huh? You need to watch the playthrough.
No, yeah.
I'll send it to you.
You should do that.
Give you something to watch.
If you know me, I need more things to watch.
Well, sorry, but you need some fodder for the show, you know? Talk more about Old Republic.
Yeah, more Republic.
I'll get you to fall down the deep end of the Old Republic.
Hey man, I'm all in. New consoles are out.
They are.
Do you care?
Well, I don't own one. The only one I potentially want is the PS5 for Demon's Souls, and that's it. I don't really have, because everything else is on PC. Right. Xboxes were potentially smoking. Apparently not, though.
It was just a vape. It's fine. What a weird time to be alive, right? Mm-hmm. In general, does it even matter? Does it even matter that I'm using myself as an example? Does it even matter if I get either of these at some point? What you just said, one of the main reasons, I'll say the only reason I'm going off on a ledge. Is that how you say that? Going off on a ledge? I'm standing on a ledge. I don't know. The only reason you'd get a PlayStation 5 is for the Sony exclusives, more or less. Xboxes, they have the ecosystem of Game Pass and just everything that goes along with that. But I can get most of that now on my Xbox One.
I think, to answer your question, it's you don't need one right now. We're still in the transition period where they're still making the same games on both consoles.
Right.
It won't last. It's not going to be like the PlayStation 2 where they kept making games for it way into the other life cycle, just because of how well it sold. No, I think for now you can wait. The price will go down, and then you can get one. The life cycle of
gone for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to come back in stock, and then the price will eventually drop when people stop buying it, and then that's when you can get one a year or 2 years from now, whatever you want. I do want to play Demon's Souls. I do really badly. I think I'm still angry that they didn't port it to PC, but it's not my decision. But well, they didn't port Bloodborne either. At least this Souls game is 60 FPS, unlike Bloodborne, which you can only play a 30 FPS version of it on the PS4. It's the only way to play it.
Interesting.
Why make it 30? But they did, and you can't and even though you can mod on the consoles now, and they've tried modding 60 FPS into it, like people used to mod the first Dark Souls into 60. But they tied the gravity and the animations into the frame rate, so when you up it, everything's faster. So you die really quickly. So you can't. It's unplayable.
I would die quickly anyway, especially in those freaking Souls games.
Speaking of which, here's some way they can print money. They can re-release Bloodborne as 60 FPS on the PS5, and everyone will buy it. Or you can also port it to the PC in the same way, and they will just print money. They have to. The work could take them 2 to 3 months to port it. It would be so cheap to make. Just make that one change.
It would appear that what would appear to be the easiest decisions to get money are rarely the ones that are taken
I
and or
think
made.
I think they do a lot of things to try to make money, at least in the game. Not this company
Correct. Oh,
specifically,
that right.
Like Activision and EA and these kind of big
Right.
publishers.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
weird though.
It is weird. And I have a friend. Heck up. Excuse me. I have a friend who is very much into getting the PlayStation 5, and
Mm-hmm.
he's been scouring the websites every time there's a restock. Has doesn't have any luck, and I was talking to him today about it, and he mentioned that it's more or less looking like he's gonna be camping out uh, somewhere like on Black Friday or whatever to snag one. Um, so
Jeez.
I applaud the enthusiasm. I applaud the dedication, and I just yeah I'm not having an inner struggle like should I or should I not. I will at some point, but
Mm-hmm.
that some points might be 2 years from now because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know because with the Xboxes, as we already discussed, Halo Infinite was going to be there. Hey, get the console for this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not happening, but also it was going to be on Game Pass anyway. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird
Yeah.
stuff.
So whenever Infinite's going to come out, I mean, I am semi looking forward to that. I heard they delayed it to make all the changes we wanted, so that's good. You know,
Change that brute.
that wasn't so big to me. I think the biggest thing to me, it's just everything looked glossy
That's so weird. That was
and
weird.
plastic. I didn't like that look, but I know that they addressed that, and so we might see a change there. Um, with the consoles, for anyone listening, and for you too, Josh, I think the
Thank you.
biggest
I'm
thing
listening.
about buying them is I don't buy a console to have a console. And I don't really buy into the console where it's like I have to support my Xbox, I have to support my PlayStation, you know? For me
Nah.
it's just I need a game that I really want on it and it's exclusive, so that's
Mm-hmm.
why I have to buy the console. I wish it
Yep.
wasn't that way. I wish exclusives didn't exist. I know why they
Right.
do. Demon Souls looks amazing and I want to try it. Outside of that, Call of Duty is on the PC, so that's why I'm
Yep.
playing it.
Yep. I'm playing that after tonight.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. And then new WoW expansion, Shadowlands, comes out in 4 days, so that's on PC. And I'm not really playing anything else right now, so it's playing WoW, and I'll eventually get Demon Souls. So we'll see. We'll see what happens and when it happens.
Yep. Yep. And like I said, we had this conversation several weeks ago. The only I I don't want to talk about it again. I was just gonna say I'm not sure if I would go. I'm not sure if I would throw my hat in the ring of the Series X because I remember I talked to you about the Series S and the possibility there just to have a next gen console because I still have the original Xbox One, which runs fine. Knock on wood. The fan sounds like it's gonna take off sometimes, but that's all right. It still works. Yeah, I don't know. But
Yeah,
again,
like
I'm
I guess you
certainly
don't need
not
a
in a
disc.
rush.
Yeah, you don't need a disc drive. And
No.
but if you were gonna buy a non-disc drive console, I think the PS5 still has the Xbox beat because it doesn't lose any power to buy the cheaper version. I don't
But
understand
again,
that.
oh, and I'm not going to be able to quote this correctly, so have mercy on me. I watched a video the other day that broke down the specs from the Series X and Series S and just said more or less explained like what you are losing, quotes, with
Mhm.
the S. And the synopsis was these things, yeah, they technically make a difference, but when you're in the zone playing the game, as far as like the resolutions and things like that, you're not going to really be missing out that much. And I know that's a broad simplification, but in my case, I know that's true.
As long as it's not frame rate, because everybody
Right.
notices when the frame rate dips. This is kind of an obscure case, but the original, so the 3DS, the Nintendo handheld system before the
Wow, the
Switch,
3DS.
when it came out, and right or after it came out, and right before the new 3DS came out, because that was a separate system, even though they were the same thing.
Yes.
Games that came out during that time period were made for both. They could work on both. but they had all these frame rate issues. You wouldn't expect to have frame rate issues on a handheld game, but they did on the old 3DS. And so that was a big debate. People were like, oh no, I guess I got to get the new 3DS so I cannot play my handheld Nintendo game without losing frames. Like, I've never had that problem on any other handheld system, generally because they weren't big games. They were tiny. So that was the first instance of this I've seen, really. And there were people
interesting.
And I mean, there were people talking about the same thing between the Wii U and the Switch releases of certain games, because they did that for some of them. But I don't know. I think as long as you're getting at least 60 FPS in a game, that's fine. And as long as the game looks next gen, that's fine.
Yeah.
Really nothing else you need it for.
Right. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. What do you got? Anything spicy on your end of things? Any notes, any thoughts? Any questions? Any frustrations? What's on your mind?
Well, there's always frustrations. Well, I mean,
sure.
So for me, and this is not something you'll be able to relate to, but
oh, ouch.
Well, you don't play World of Warcraft.
You're darn right I don't, but go ahead.
So, okay, they have two versions of the game released concurrently.
Vanilla, right? Vanilla. Chocolate.
Yeah, World of Warcraft Classic and World of Warcraft Retail, or it'll be Shadowlands in 4 days. And the way it works is, generally, since Classic came out last year, which is the way the game was before any expansions, is they would release the content between the two versions kind of sporadically, so they never would fall on the same date, because they know that they had players who played both. And I do. Most people I know do play both versions because they're both fun in different ways. But this winter, they're trying to shove everything into the quarter four earnings, right? They're trying to shove it all in because of Activision. And so they're releasing Shadowlands comes out in 4 days on the 23rd. And then a week and a half later, the new raid, the big content release for Classic, comes out. And then a week later, or actually, so 3 days before that, the first big content release of Shadowlands comes out. So you got three big releases in the two different games, really close together. And then another week later, another content release is going to happen on retail. And you're just splitting the fan base there. They're not going to know what to play, and so they're going to have to pick one and not play the other, when all they had to do was just delay the Classic releases a month. And it's all about money. And that's what frustrates me. It's like, come on.
I think that after all this time of delaying everything, that delaying one more thing wouldn't have been a problem.
And honestly, no. I mean, people. This was a rush to people, because people expected the new raid tier, which is called Naxxramas for anyone who knows.
Oh,
this raid was supposed to be. Everyone assumed it was going to be released in late January at the soonest, early February on average, is what people were expecting. And they just, December 3rd, it's fine.
December 3rd.
What's weird about this is every other raid has had the same amount of months between it until now. They just rushed this one out for no reason. It's like, why are you because this is the last raid tier of Classic, and then Classic's done. So why are they rushing the end of their game? They're just going to lose subs just to get some early cash. It doesn't make any sense. And then they delayed Shadowlands. So they rush one, delay the other, and now they fall in the same 2 weeks. It was just bad decisions all around.
Did you already answer? I'm so sorry if you already said this. Why didn't they just put them out together? Did you already answer that?
Both games?
Yeah, or both expansions or whatever.
Well, because the same people play both games. So if you have a major content release in both, it's an MMO. It's not like Call of Duty and Halo come out at the same time, right? You can't just like, okay, I'm bored of this one for today. Let's play this other one. You have to put a lot of grind in order to keep up. And you can't do it in both games. You can't feasibly, if they're released at the same time. The way it was done before, a new content for Classic was released during a drought of content in the other game, where the content's done, you've done it, you've grinded it, and now you're just waiting for the next release. So now I'm going to jump over to Classic and play that content release and jump back and forth. And players have been like really happy with that system. It's worked well because there's always been something to do between the two games. But now, if they're all falling at the same time, especially when raids are coordinated group events and you have players who are just going to abandon one game to play the other, guilds are going to have a hard time getting through the content. Like, Johnny's not here. He's playing the other one, so I guess we can't do it tonight. Yeah, so and that's going to be the problem. And on top of all that, it's all falling on the holidays, which means either they have to force their developers to work through the holidays, which they've never done, which is like bad. And a lot of them a lot of developers just recently quit when they found out. So I assume that's what's going to happen. Or they're going to say, no, you don't have to. And if there's any major bugs at the beginning of each release, which always happens in Blizzard games, in any game release, there's always bugs, they're not going to have people in the studio to fix it. So either way, it's bad. And the players don't like it. Who is benefiting from this besides the earnings people? And so that's why the complaints are happening. They can't hide it. They can't pretend there was some other reason. It's because of money. Because everyone else, even the developers, are upset about it.
Was that a shock that it's about money to you?
No. However, at the beginning,
it's how it's about money.
At the beginning, so Blizzard's had this problem ever since Activision bought them out in 2008. They've gone downhill and they've become more money focused because the developers no longer have the control. The producers tell them what to do. But at least when they first started announcing Shadowlands and the new content and they first started bringing out Classic again, people were excited because they were turning over a new leaf. They were starting to listen to fans. It seems like they've abandoned that again, which it was working. You were making a ton of money. Why stop?
Right.
So that's been my big frustration. And I think this goes beyond just Blizzard and World of Warcraft. I think this goes gaming in general.
Sure.
I think the Cyberpunk route is right. Wait until it's done. Wait until it's done right. It might anger some people who took time off to play it, but well.
They took their work days off.
I would rather have a good game eventually than a bad game now. And who is that? I forget who said that. Shigeru Miyamoto or something?
Dude, Cyberpunk would have come out tonight at midnight. Isn't that weird to think about?
That would have been cool. I would have loved to have played it, but obviously any version they would have released tonight wouldn't have been ready, right? It would have been. Sure. I'm sure there was game-breaking bugs, or this just wasn't the way they wanted it. And, I mean, the game's going to be huge. I mean, just the amount of time it takes to build something like this.
It's going to be so crazy to see how it all turns out with that specifically.
Like I can't.
Cyberpunk, that is.
It's hard to take the scale of how, or to think of the scale of how big a game like this is and how much work goes into it until you've actually worked on one. And then even then, I'm working on my second game now with my cousin Chris Jackson for a game jam. This is a little bigger than our first one, but there's 2 of us making a game. Well, actually 3 or 4 of us roughly making a game that's a Metroidvania, like a Castlevania game. Very small. It's only going to have a few levels in it and maybe a boss. It's very simple, and it's going to take us a month to do, right? As you think, I mean, these people might be way better than us in pros that work at CD Projekt Red, but still, for a game that intense, of course it's going to have delays. Like when they first announced the first release date, I was like, it's not ready, and of course it wasn't. That was just my computer mind talking.
Right. They put out for Cyberpunk they've been doing the Night City Wires or whatever, like their update videos or whatever. And they did one, oh gosh, it was either today or within the past week or so, kind of just giving like the latest update. And they were showing like gameplay of what do you want to call it, like the skill tree menus and things like that, and all the different crap that's going into that, and it's looking pretty wild.
I'm excited. I've wanted a good RPG to dive into because RPGs are such a cool genre of game, especially in the way things are now, where life's kind of sucky for everybody right now. And we have this world that we can get lost in. I know it'll be kind of difficult for you to put a lot of time into your busy life. Your life's about to get pretty busy.
Thank you.
But I'm sure you'll find some time for it eventually.
Indeed.
And you'll play it and you will like it probably.
Probably. Yeah. It will be an experience. One thing I want to drop on you real quick. I'm
ready.
I'm double timing you here. So IO Interactive. You familiar?
That actually does sound familiar. I don't remember what they've made.
Those are the guys that made the Hitman games.
Yeah. Okay.
And they made, crap, what was the other one? There were several other ones, and I know it's cheap just to say Hitman, but they've done things. They've had a project in the works for a while now that they've been teasing, and it's just been revealed that they're making a a new James Bond game.
Hmm.
The guys that made the Hitman games are making a James Bond game. It's currently called Project 007. It's a working title, but that kind of seems interesting.
It could be good. It could also be really bad. We'll have to see.
think if it's I don't think they're going to copy and paste Hitman into James Bond, but if this James Bond game is even a whisper of what the newer Hitman games are, I don't think it's going to be bad. And I haven't played.
No fault with IO or anything. It's just it's a movie game, and movie games have a history.
Sure, I don't think they're gonna. I don't think it's gonna be Daniel Craig as Bond. It might be like a whole new specific thing. So I don't know. Could be.
I want it to be good. That sounds good. I haven't played a good James Bond game since Nightfire on the GameCube.
That was so good. Did you play Everything or Nothing? Did we already have this conversation?
I don't think I've played that one. The two I've played are Nightfire and GoldenEye are the two I've played.
Of course. Yeah, man, they could be pretty good. It could be good.
Speaking of GoldenEye, someone released a port of GoldenEye on the computer, fan-made one, of course, that uses the mouse and keyboard to control, is 60 FPS and high res. And the game is incredible to control. And I'm sure you could get a controller port with 2 joysticks to make it better than just playing on the N64.
Joss, I'm sure you could get a nice comfy controller to fit in the palm of your hands.
Well, I know you're not going to play it on mouse and keyboard. I mean...
Well, I would if I had one.
You have a keyboard right in front of you.
Well, I'm not going to play it on my Mac. Feels wrong and dirty. I don't know.
Well, anyway, mice and keyboards are cheap if you go buy them. But I'm saying, seriously, I think there is a controller port for it, too. And just being able to go from the N64 controller with 1 joystick to 2 joysticks or a mouse and keyboard, it feels incredible. Yeah. And there's been a lot of fan projects like that, taking those old games and putting them into modern day tech, and it feels so good. And I think that I'm going to take that tangent into something else because I wanted to talk about it tonight. Right. I almost forgot. I can't believe.
Don't forget.
Mass Effect Remaster, Legendary Edition.
Yeah.
Coming out next spring.
It's a big deal for you.
It's my favorite game series of all time. Of course, it's a big deal for me.
Yeah.
I know it's not going to be anything new. The only change I want to see, and this is the most minor thing in the world, the only change I actually want to see is I want to see them add your ability to holster your weapon in the 3rd game, because that was something that got cut in the release of the 3rd game. It's so minor, but being able to walk around the levels without focus down your rifle would help a lot of people's motion sickness and also just look better, because you were able to do it in the first 2 games, but you couldn't do it at all in 3.
Right. That sounds like a welcome change.
And I know they're going to up the graphics. A lot of people are saying, change all this stuff about the first game. No, don't. Leave them as is. Just up the graphics, fix bugs, and release them. And that's literally all people need. Because I noticed when I was watching my dad play through the game, some of the stuff in the first one's kind of dated. If you're not like if you're not someone who plays games regularly, a lot of it's not just going to be common sense to you. And a lot of that for him is when you're colorblind and the game's low res, it's hard to see things.
Right. That colorblind piece is a big part of it.
Yeah. It's just like, especially if he's in areas which are just, completely saturated with those colors you can't see, it's hard for him to make out the difference and see enemies at a distance. But when there's going to be colorblind modes, of course, in every new game, and it'll be, 4K graphics, not that the system he'll be playing on can see that, but just high res, it'll look way better, and I think he'll have an easier time with it. And I think everyone will. The first game won't be dated anymore, and I think that's the big fix. And I highly recommend
go back and visit.
Yeah, and I know you were playing through 2, and I recommend you halt and wait.
Yeah, I know, man. I know.
Especially since with everything else coming out.
Yeah.
But yes, I am gonna pester you about playing it when a remaster does come out.
It's good. It's fine. I'm with you in spirit, and at some point in my life, I hope you know that I hope to make that a reality for myself.
Who knows what your life's gonna be like next spring? Probably busy, but you know what? You might have some time.
I might have time and I might not, but I'll let you know either way. How about that?
I think that the Mass Effect games are in they're is like compared to like a Witcher or Cyberpunk or whatever. The fact that there are levels, there are missions.
It's a little bit more linear constructed.
Right. And then you can do one and then stop and then come back.
Yep. I agree with you.
That works better.
That up from the little bit that I've played already.
Some levels are longer than others. And the first Mass Effect game specifically, if you just force the story through, it's like 20 hours, 20, 25, which that's about average for games nowadays. Short end are usually around 10, long end they're like 100. So 20 is really not that bad. Now, if you do everything, it's a bit longer. If you do every side mission, which I will do. I didn't on my first playthrough of Mass Effect at all. I didn't like think about it. I just did whatever mission I saw. Oh, that sounds cool. I'll go do that. And I think the whole series took me about 120, I think, for 3 games.
It's a lot of hours.
Well, it's about 40 per. I did it on a summer break between high school and college, so didn't really have anything to do, I wasn't working a job at the time. You have a lot of time on your hands.
You squashed it. You made use of the time and the waste that mattered to you.
I was a teenager. I had time on my hands.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. All right, here's the thing. With the glorious Mass Effect talk, I'm going to have to bring this to a close. Because like
a good ending.
I'm glad. I'm glad you think so. I'm going to try to go smash some duty here before I pass out in a defeated way. This has been the Greater Mythos podcast. You know what it is. We had fun. I hope you had fun.
I had fun.
Looked you deep in the eyes. You had fun?
Mm-hmm.
Watch the Snyder cut.
Hello.